Now, Aston Villa against Arsenal is your early kickoff on Saturday. We've got an Arsenal fan here in Andy Whitelaw. Arsenal's fine run of form, Andy, came to an end on Tuesday night. It was just a blip, right? It was just a blip.
Well, we're going to find out, aren't we, very soon against Villa. They're not in great form, and wouldn't it just be the thing for them to rediscover their form against Arsenal? Look, that being said, the Gunners were brilliant against Wolves first half. They were really great to watch, which is one of my biggest complaints at times, because if we're getting up at 3-4 in the morning, why do we watch football? We watch football to be entertained. And when the football's dire, it's pretty hard to stomach. Arsenal were great against Wolves in that first half, creating. Saka was brilliant. Pepe.
You saw that Pepe goal, you thought, wow. And then it was all like going to half time. And I was watching it. I thought, right, they've got this. And then
you thought they might hammer them. And then, the red card happens. After seeing many replays, the touch has got to be next to nothing. He doesn't change the stride of his run, doesn't seem to have any intention. And if they're going to reverse the Bednarek decision, I don't see any difference with this. This is a very strange one for me. And it is that double jeopardy, isn't it? Losing a man and conceding a penalty. You're punished twice, which is something that I thought that they were going to get rid of. But now, the rule is very strange and probably something that's got to be addressed, because it's about your intention. If he goes to ground and tries to play the ball, does he only get a yellow there? But because he's not tried to play the man or not tried to play the ball, it's all a little bit confusing. I'm confused right now. But what I do know is there seems to be a habit of players who haven't scored in a long time scoring absolute wonder goals against Arsenal. That Juan Coutinho finish
what a strike.
Was something else.
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff. I don't think they can get too downhearted. They've got the third best defence in the league, which is a huge issue for them. In previous seasons, Arteta's done a really good job of addressing that. Players like Rob Holding have looked revitalised and have taken a bit of the step up, and he's 25 now, so he's improving. Gabriel will come back into the side, and as long as they start to improve the final third, I thought taking Pepe off for Aubameyang was actually not the correct decision at that time. Pepe was having a great game. They've still got things to do in the final third, and Odegaard on loan should address that. I do fancy them to beat Villa if they can keep a handle on Grealish, who was good again despite Villa losing. Just a blip.
Yeah. Sticking with Arsenal, Des, VAR. So we've mentioned, we talked a lot about it on Twitter this week as well. Some of the ideas that came up was just make the torso. Rather than an arm, a sleeve, full torso. Then there was, let's not have a referee in looking at the TV. Let's just have VAR running with the on-pitch referee. And then he decides to look at the screen. Any of those would help it, Des?
No, I repeat for the 155,000th time, get rid of it. Because it undermines the referee's authority. I'm okay with referees making mistakes. It's part and parcel of human nature. But when they then refer the Lewis to VAR, and then you have, Bob called it perfectly, the nitpickers coming in. That has changed the game. There is clearly no attempt whatsoever of any way, shape or form of David Lewis trying to commit a foul. None at all. A running two players are running. In fact, Lewis is slowing down. He is trying to avoid contact, actively avoid contact. And they micro-analyze it, and they can't see that. They're not allowed to use their judgments anymore, referees. The rules, the laws are bound in stone. Any contact in the penalty area is a penalty. And it's crap. It's just, you've taken the opportunity for referees to interpret completely away from them, and VAR just support it. And it's changed the game. It's changed the whole complexion. A 1-0 Arsenal half-time becomes a 10-11 second half. Yet I don't know why they are tinkering with what is a magical game of football. I just don't get it. Let referees make independent decisions once again.
Okay, as far as this game goes, a bit about Aston Villa, Bob. Andy mentioned Jack Grealish is in a rich vein of form at the moment. They had a blip midweek, but they're still higher than they ever could have wished. I mean, given that start of the season, they would have bitten your hand off for it, right?
Yeah. I mean, they had to draw their last game of the season last year to survive. And good thing they did. I don't know whether Grealish would have even stayed there had they gone down. But they've made the most of their escape. They bought very well. Martinez, until the midweek game, was a candidate for the goalkeeper of the season. And then he decides to make Jesse Lingard's debut a memorable one. He had an assist in both of those goals. But they've done brilliantly. And Grealish is the star man. And why Gareth Southgate is a bit reluctant, seemingly reluctant to pick him. I mean, he has picked him, but he doesn't look as if he's first choice. Mason Mount seems to be, although he's also very good. But I think Grealish brings more to the table. He's absolutely brilliant. And some of those clubs that were rumoured to be after him, Manchester United, Liverpool, the usual crew, they might regret not pursuing him because his price has soared this season. Yeah. And he may not even leave. I mean, he's happy there. And this is his club, a club he supports. And he could well lead Villa into a new successful era. They could get back into Europe if they can build on this season.
Mm. All right. Well,
just like to say, but we haven't mentioned Leno's red card, have we? And that gives Arsenal a goalkeeping problem. They've got the rather inexperienced Runarsson, who came on, who had an absolute mare against Man City in the Carabao Cup. And they've also got Matt Ryan, who they've hastily signed on loan from Brighton.
He's injured, isn't he?
But yes, there's a doubt about him. So the chances are Runarsson will be in goal. So that's a bit scary for you, Andy.
All right, I tell you what, we're giving it our seal of approval and confirmation that there will be goals in this one. Aston Villa versus Arsenal is your early kickoff on Saturday, 8:30 p.m. Man United against Everton is a Sunday, 4 a.m. game. Andy, you called it. If it's a 4 a.m. game, it better not be a 0-0 this one. United, I mean, how do you build off the back of a 9-0 home win? I know there are going to be no fans at Old Trafford, but surely more of the same, please. Thank you very much.
Paul Pogba to come back into the side, World Cup winning superstar midfielder. That's a luxury, isn't it? Dan James coming in, scoring a goal. As I mentioned earlier, Martial, bit of confidence for him. They're going to be absolutely flying. For one, someone who does not support Manchester United, I wanted Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to stay as long as possible and to sign a lifetime contract. Proving some of his doubters wrong, isn't he? They're looking really nice and confident. They've got a bit of momentum behind them. I think it should be a cracker of a game with Everton and Calvert-Lewin scoring again. They look good, Everton, and Gomez fit and firing, spraying good passes. This should be a belter. I don't think it's going to be a boring one, this one.
Ole's even turned Jesse Lingard at West Ham into Messi Lingard. That's how good Ole is. All right, let's look at the opposition here. Everton, I mean, they're having a great season. It was a 2-1 away win at Leeds. It has to be said, Everton are better away from home this season, Des Corkill. I know you're going to be critical that they celebrated 2 titles already, but this season, Ancelotti's pretty close to the finished product as far as Everton's concerned.
Absolutely. I've actually been saying Everton are a very good side since the start of the season. They got over themselves when they won the title twice. But they've won 7 out of their 10 games on the road in the league. They are really, really good and set up to play well away from home. I see Everton coming away with all 3 points here because United may take their eye off the ball. Look at that. We've scored 9 goals. We're back in the title race. Everyone's talking about us. But you know what? Everton like to be party poopers. They're a strong, disciplined side, perhaps lacking just that little bit of consistency. They can lose at home to Newcastle every bit as easily, win away against the top clubs. But they're talking a good game at Everton. They're playing a good game. If they win their 2 games in hand, because they've got 2 games in hand, they go into the top 4. So they see this as a real chance of breaking into not only the top 6, but the top 4. They've got Bramley-Moore still to come sometime in the future. They've got good backing. They've got a world-class coach in Carlo Ancelotti, and they're hanging in there despite the odd slip-up like the Newcastle game. This is a cracker. I see Everton really, really blooding United's nose here.
Okay, well, Man United will check on Edinson Cavani's fitness ahead of the clash. It is a 4 a.m. kickoff, Man United versus Everton. Tottenham Hotspur against West Bromwich Albion is a Sunday, 8 p.m. kickoff. Spurs are trying to avoid 4 straight losses. It's weird saying that. They were near the top not too long ago, Bob Hobbs. But yeah, I mean, Thursday night, the latest loss, 1-0 at home to Chelsea. Jose Mourinho was a bit grumpy post-match as well with the reporters. Jose Stiley, it's going to plan, I guess.
He was grumpy with the referee, and I think anyone who got up at 4 a.m. would have been pretty grumpy with him, because what Spurs played in the first half was anti-football, frankly. I mean, they pushed a little bit towards the end. Of course they did, because they were losing, and they almost got an equaliser. Vinicius missing a rather simple header that you think Harry Kane would have buried. But it is looking like the Harry Kane team again, isn't it? That Pep Guardiola famously called Spurs a couple of years ago. Without him, they're just not the same. Son is not the same, a shadow of his former self. And the tactics are really mystifying. You've got players like that, and you've got Bale on the bench, paying a chunk of his enormous salary, and you never use him, or hardly ever. I mean, what's going on? And there was no attempt to try and win the game in the first half. I think they had 2 touches in the Chelsea penalty area in the first half. And they're the home team in this wonderful stadium. Okay, there are no fans there, but still, you would think that they would want to make the home ground something of a fortress. And Mourinho has always done that. This was the first time in his entire career that he'd lost 2 home games in a row. Now, there's a stat for you. I mean, it's a tribute to him, to his management. But after looking as if he could even sneak the title at one stage or win something, the season is falling apart. And I don't think it is just down to Harry Kane's injury. In fact, he's going to be back sooner than expected. He could be back next week. I think Mourinho's not got the right tactics. He's overplaying certain players like Dyer, for example, who plays every single minute and is looking knackered, looks as if he needs a rest. So Mourinho's management is under question again. And if they're not careful, Arsenal could actually overtake them in the league.
Yeah. If only they had a clever number 10 they could play in the number 10 role. Like, you know. Yeah, all right. A little bit about West Brom, who are 10 points adrift near the bottom. And I'm coming to you, Andy, because West Brom have signed, I think it's a bit of a coup, Ainsley Maitland-Niles has joined the Baggies' fight for survival. I was reading bits about it, saying he might get to play his preferred midfield role, sleeves up. This is a fight. This is a test of a young player's career, isn't it?
Yeah, he's 23 now. So it's at that age where he's got to start producing. He's got to start playing football. Is it only Arsenal who've dealt with this weird thing of players spending years on end debating what their best position is? It happened with Theo Walcott, who thought he was a centre forward. It happened a little bit with Oxlade-Chamberlain, who wanted to play in the number 10 role. And now it's happening with Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who is superb, actually, at times. You saw it in the FA Cup. He had a pivotal role in Arsenal winning the FA Cup last season. He's so quick. His recovery pace and recovery runs are very impressive. He passes the ball well and he gets forward well as well. As a centre midfielder for a top club, there's massive question marks about him. I think there's a reason why 3 different managers have not opted to play him in that role. And under Big Sam, are you going to be flourishing? You're 10 points adrift at the bottom. Are you going to be playing football, or are you going to have to dig in and probably losing matches 2 or 3-0? I'm not sure how it's going to turn out for him. And also, I'm not sure about the wisdom of sending Ainsley Maitland-Niles down to play for Big Sam, or up to play for Big Sam for West Brom. Look at what happened to Serge Gnabry when they sent him on loan to West Brom. What happened there? He didn't play. Yeah. And then turned out to be an absolute world beater. Still bitter about that one. Question marks remain. I'm not sure if this is the best move for Maitland-Niles, but if he is the player that we think he can be, he's an England international, remember, 23 years old. Now's the time to show it. He's going to be given a bit of responsibility, you would have thought, and he's going to get minutes. So it's a big moment in his career.
I'm going to stick my neck out. Tottenham versus West Brom is going to be a dour one. 8 p.m. kickoff on Sunday. Wolves versus Leicester City might be a bit more interesting. It's a Midlands derby. It's Sunday, 10 p.m. I hear Wilfred Ndidi and Jamie Vardy might be back in the Leicester side. That's massive. There's Corkill. But they're motoring along nicely, and a lot of credit to Brendan Rodgers.
Again, it's form away from home for Leicester that really seems to be working. They say the crowds don't make a difference with the home and away. There must be something in it, because so many teams have really good away records. Leicester have got 8 wins from their 11 matches played away from, I was nearly said Filbert Street, from the King Power Stadium, and 23 goals as well. They're scoring 2 goals a game because they've got this ability to hit on the break, a little bit more space perhaps for Maddison, who looks a really good player. They're just lacking that extra support for Jamie Vardy when he's not in the team. But yeah, they're very, very good team, Leicester. They'll compete. I don't think they've got the staying power. I think they'll have a problem also as the running kicks in. But yeah, Brendan Rodgers, he was a great coach at Liverpool. He was a terrific coach at Celtic. He's proving he's right in the top drawer by making a team of Leicester that you wouldn't expect to be up at the very, very top end. And he's making them competitive. But it's all based on the road. 8 wins and 2 draws, just 1 defeat on the road for Leicester. It's a superb record.
I tell you what, sitting here in Malaysia, you look at how Leicester are managed. I think Brendan Rodgers is one of the best squad managers in the business. He really, really is. All right, a bit about Wolves, Bob. Up and down season. They were pretty much down until they played Arsenal. And then 2 red cards. Suddenly they come away with 3 points. But that's going to do their confidence the world of good. They need to kick on here. This is a derby. Do you fancy them?
I do, actually. The Arsenal game, of course, was the reverse fixture of the incident with Jimenez and David Luiz, wasn't it? Earlier in the season, when Jimenez unfortunately broke his skull and he's still out, but he is back at the training ground and running around and just doing a bit of ball work. So it's not inconceivable that he could come back before the end of the season, which would be massive for Wolves. But they're not in any danger. They just had a disappointing season, and that's one of the main reasons. But I do think they changed their policy. Their board even seemed to change their policy, as well as the manager, right at the beginning when they agreed to sell Diogo Jota to Liverpool, who actually turned out to be better than expected. They got a decent amount for him, just over 40 million quid. But he was a revelation until he got injured. But to let one of your best players go like that is a strange thing to do when you're supposedly building something with shrewd investors and a man like Jorge Mendes as your agent, who can apparently snap his fingers and bring over the best Portuguese young talent there is. So I don't know quite what happened there behind the scenes. It's probably down to money, the fact that they sold Jota, probably needed a cash injection, although they didn't get anywhere near the full amount up front. But they've got enough good players to see them through the season. Unfortunately, I think the best they can hope for is just top half. They're not going to get into Europe at this rate. But they do have the quality. I mean, you saw that in Moutinho, who's been in and out of the side, past his best, a veteran, but can still produce a magical goal like that in midweek. The biggest disappointment has been Adama Traore. And he's been mucked about a bit, not played enough, and wanted to leave, apparently. But they've not got the best out of him. I mean, he was electrifying last season. Again, another player who's a shadow of his former self.
Yep. All right. Well, Wolves at home, 4 wins, 3 draws, 4 losses. Leicester are great away from home. You do the math. Sunday, 10 p.m. kickoff, that one. Back with Andy, back with Des, back with Bob Holmes, looking at the big one. Liverpool versus Man City is Monday at midnight. Mane, Alisson, Fabinho could all return for the Reds. Des Corkill, reaction needed.
Liverpool's record against teams in the top, the top teams of the season this season is played 9, won 6, drawn 3. They seem to respond really well against teams who try to play football. They have the problem with the teams who sit back a little bit. No, that's unfair on Brighton. Brighton didn't sit back. But they have problems against teams who do sit back and try and stifle them. So I'm less anxious about these kind of games, bizarrely, than I am against the Brightons and the Burnleys of this world, because Liverpool will give it a real go. They need to give it a go because they're in danger of not making the top 4. If this drought continues, confidence might slip. The injuries are certainly affecting them now. But Liverpool, their players are top players. They will respond to Manchester City, win or bust. Because if they lose, then suddenly a revitalised Chelsea, a revitalised Everton, plus the other top 3 teams, and even Spurs aren't completely out of it, then, a top 4 is in jeopardy. And that is unthinkable.
Bob, how can Jurgen switch it around a bit compared to the Brighton? What can he do different against City?
Not a lot, actually, apart from bringing back those players you mentioned. Yeah. I mean, that alone will make a difference. But tactically, I don't think he can. He never does change drastically, does he? He's got his way of playing. I mean, he's tweaked a bit with Thiago. I worry a little bit about him. He's a brilliant player, but I read where he was in danger of becoming the Liverpool's one Sebastian Veron, an undisputed great player and brilliant talent that was supposed to lift Manchester United above, take them to the next level, was Alex Ferguson's words. And although Thiago came on a free, I just wonder if it's a similar situation. I mean, no one is questioning his ability, but does he fit in with Liverpool's style of play? Does he fit in with the Premier League? I mean, he has a lot of the ball. His passing ratio is very good. It's always about 95%. He hits the target, but you don't see many real openings that he creates. And with people like Salah and Mane to run onto the ball, you would think that there'd be opportunities. I mean, the pace that they have, but he doesn't seem to be able to thread his way through the packed defences that the lower teams have put against him. And I agree with Des. Man City may give him more of a chance. I think Liverpool will relish this challenge. They've done pretty well in the games against City in recent years. Even when City won the title, the Liverpool game was always their hardest game. So this will be a real test. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Thiago goes about it. Pep knows him well. He may put somebody on him, but I think he's the key, really, to opening this newly resolute City defence.
I absolutely loved Seba at United. He was genius. He really was. Andy, City, we spoke about. They're a goal machine. Well, not a goal machine this season, but they're churning out the wins, and the goals have been spread out. Gundogan, Sterling, Mahrez have 7-7-5 between them. So they all know what they're doing. They're coming here to a Liverpool side who are slightly rocky at home. Are they there for the taking, you reckon?
I have no idea. Absolutely no idea. This could go any number of ways. So I'm just going to be honest. They've been methodical. That's the word, I think. Precise, City. But this is a Liverpool side. I mean, you just mentioned, we're talking about a mini crisis. I mean, they just beat Tottenham. They just beat a brilliant West Ham side not long ago before we panicked with an incredible transitional goal, Liverpool. They're playing at Anfield without the famous Kop behind them, which has served them so well in these big City games of the past. But if anyone's going to lift them and get them up for this, you won't need to say much to get them up for this one. For those three players coming in, Alisson, Mane, Fabinho, that is some real riches to come into your side when you need a lift. So you wouldn't be at all surprised to see another famous Liverpool victory here. And it's just funny when a rival is on an incredible run, 13 matches, 11 wins, 2 draws, it's often your rival is the one to unpick you. So I could see a Liverpool win here if I had to pick.
I'm going to throw this question to you, Des. We all know how Pep Guardiola plays, but from a football perspective, if Pep went there and parked 4 buses this weekend, and it becomes a masterclass because City are happy with a point, I want to know how you'd react.
He has tried that in the past. He tried that last year, I think. Man City came and they were a lot more defensive, and it didn't work for them. And so he's abandoned that. City won't do that. They've got too many good players. Sterling is outrageously good. Gundogan is in the form of his life. They won't. Guardiola's a football man. He's not a Mourinho. He's not anti-football at all. They just won't. They play the game in the right way. That's why when their success isn't frowned upon in any way, shape or form for Manchester City, because they go about the game in the right way in a beautiful fashion. So no, they won't.
All right. City looking for a 14th straight win. Liverpool versus Man City is Monday, midnight. Sheffield United against Chelsea is a 3:15 kickoff. This one may not have a lot of goals, but we've got to talk about Thomas Tuchel. And since he's taken over at Chelsea, it's been clean sheets. 2 wins, 1 draw, 3 clean sheets. Andy Whitelaw. Is this a good appointment? Too early to say, I know. But are they going in the right direction, Chelsea, you think?
It looks that way by the start he's made. He's certainly lots of experience working with Callum Hudson-Odoi, who seems to be kicking on and starting to fulfill that potential a little bit. And you've got to look at someone like Timo Werner, who won the penalties, had a bit of a torrid time recently, but you know that there's a top player there. Bags of pace, banged in them in Germany. Looked pretty good when he arrived at Chelsea as well. If they can get him firing, and I think Tuchel, his countryman, would be the man to do that. He seems to understand what he wants to do there. He seems to already be a good fit, doesn't he? Difficult to draw too many strong conclusions after only 3 matches. Sheffield United will be a test at home. They did well to come from behind against West Brom. Billy Sharp, proper Sheffield United man with the winner there, right? So if they can get through this and build a bit more momentum, like Des was saying, Liverpool should maybe watch out. Chelsea are revitalised.
I don't know. Massive ask. But can Sheffield United, Bob, can the Blades do something here?
Well, I mean, they beat United, didn't they? You can't rule it out, and they've got a bit of confidence for the first time this season. But there's a huge gulf in class, especially when you look at the strikers. I mean, Timo Werner, 40-odd million. the forward players, let's include all the forward players. Pulisic, he was about 60 million, wasn't he? And Sheffield United, they've got Forest cast-offs. Billy Sharp played for Forest, McGoldrick. I mean, the most expensive player is Rhian Brewster. And I really feel sorry for him. Yeah. I mean, he was the next big thing, wasn't he? 4 years ago now, when
World Cup winner.
One of the star players of the leading goal scorer. Phil Foden was voted the player of the tournament. We're talking about the World Youth Cup, the under 19s, wasn't it? Under 19s, I think, at the time. And he was outstanding. And Jurgen Klopp rated him very highly and wanted him included in the squad. And then he had a serious injury and never really came back to that early form. Sheffield United paid 25 million, in the region of 25 million pounds for him, but Liverpool kept first option on signing him. So they didn't give up. They haven't given up on him altogether, but he's still looking for his first goal. And you feel that once he gets it, even if it goes in off his backside, it'll change everything. And he could he will score 4 or 5 in the next 4 or 5 games. It's that kind of situation. Yeah. But he's in and out of the side. But compare those guys with the Chelsea stars that they've got up front, and it's a different world. So really, my heart would say I'd like Sheffield United to win, but my head says Chelsea. But it could be an interesting game.
It's the ultimate championship manager job, Des Corkill. Thomas Tuchel's just come into this Chelsea side. He's got all these top players. Pick a system, and then you can move Ziyech, make him a number 10 instead of a wide player. Do you know what I mean? You can try all that out. Must be great.
Absolutely. It's like Manchester United. Chelsea should be up at the top because you look at the players that they have got, and as you say, bring anybody in and select them. But what Tuchel has seemingly done is he's got Azpilicueta, the leader, back, leading Chelsea. He's made them tighter defensively. He's got Alonso back playing as well to give some natural width, although Ben Chilwell did give natural width as well. But he just seems to have got those players who are on the periphery of Frank Lampard's team as they went through that blip. And it was a blip. I remember Chelsea were somewhere near the top of the table in December, as were Tottenham. So Tuchel is a very competent manager, but Chelsea have got excellent players and should be in the top 4 with those players, no matter who the coach is. But Tuchel does seem to have made them brought them more rigid defensively. Can't see Sheffield United getting a shot here. Never mind a victory.
Sheffield United versus Chelsea is Monday, 3:15 a.m. kickoff. Burnley versus Brighton could be interesting. Saturday, 11 p.m. kickoff this one. Des, Brighton, big win. Well, a couple of big wins recently. Spurs and Liverpool are massive scalps. And it bodes well for the Harry Potter project. Did I call him Harry Potter?
You did indeed. Very good. But it's fantasy world at the moment for Brighton. They've got those 2 victories, and they were deserved victories. Nobody at Liverpool or Tottenham is saying, hey, this was stolen. Brighton, I've been waxing lyrical about the way they play, how solid they are, how they play nice, pretty patterns. And now they're getting the results that I think they deserved. I wish they didn't get them against Liverpool, but they're a good footballing team. And I'm delighted to see that they're probably clear of relegation problems, or 10 points clear. That's a lot if they were to fall away. So, yeah, keep it going, Brighton. Burnley.
Well, Burnley, Bob, should have been really busy in the January transfer window that just shut because they've been taken over. I read an article that said the new owners have plowed £92 million worth of debt onto the club. I'm thinking, did the Glazers buy another club?
Or was it Hicks and Gillette?
Back for part deux.
Ooh.
Exactly. this is looking very dodgy, actually. It looks as if the two main directors of Burnley have made themselves a tidy sum of many millions each. And the American owner, in inverted commas, has not put very much money into it at all. And they've agreed to it because he's made them rich, but it's the club's money. And as you say, it's the debt. And they previously didn't have any. And it's rather like Manchester United when the Glazers took over. They've done a similar deal. They've mortgaged the club.
Is a money-making machine with, well, when full, Old Trafford every week, you know what I mean, or every other week.
But yeah, but they have paid £1 billion in interest and dividends during the Glazer tenure. And when you think of what they could have bought with that, the mind boggles, doesn't it? Alex Ferguson at the helm. They could have
Lionel Messi.
Yeah, nearly.
All right, well, it's going to be an interesting game, that one. Burnley-Brighton is Saturday, 11 o'clock. Newcastle versus Southampton. We're looking for the ultimate reaction game here, Andy Whitelaw, from Hassan Huttle and the Saints. Are we going to get it instantly?
Well, we touched on it earlier, didn't we? If anyone's going to have a reaction, it's Hassan Huttle and his team. That's why I don't think it's panic stations for them. You don't bank on one of your players getting sent off 3 or 4 minutes into the match, do you? Are they due to have 1 or 2 of those injuries back? I don't know if you guys can enlighten me on that, but if anyone's going to bounce back here, Hassan Huttle's a top manager. Southampton have proven themselves to be a top side this season and worthy of being in the top half as well. Newcastle, though, they've signed Joe Willock on loan. Wilson has been one of the top centre forwards in the league all season. I think they shocked Everton big time. I think they shocked everyone watching because they were very good in that game, and so was he. But that was a couple of games ago now. I do think Southampton will I do think Southampton will recover with a cheeky win here.
All right, that one's 11 o'clock on Saturday. Newcastle, Southampton, Fulham versus West Ham. We've not talked about West Ham, Des Corkill, and David Moyes. It's been quite amazing, really. And now if you look at the addition of Jesse Lingard on loan, he's building a side that will run for him, and bit of flair as well. They're not boring, are they, Des?
They still like to defend. They still like to play from deep and break away. But I think we mentioned this before. David Moyes is repeating what he did at Everton. He's made a potentially poor side competitive at the top end. They were a little bit unfortunate to come up against that Liverpool breakaway goal, but the response from the win at Villa is really very good. And Souček, I tell you what, he's an outside chance to be a potential player of the season because he adds such a dimension to them. And his goal, third man running against Aston Villa, was just a brilliant bit of midfield play from a guy who we normally have mainly in the defensive mind. So yeah, West Ham, they'll bloody a few noses. Potential top 6, probably more likely top 10. But Fulham, gosh, they're in a nosedive, aren't they? We thought that they recovered, but they're losing games now that they maybe were drawing, and we thought they were going to get out of danger. That's not looking good for them, and West Ham could really put that nail in the coffin like 1975 FA Cup final all over again.
Yeah. Can you imagine what being in the Moyes household must have been like for the past decade before this one? How miserable. You'd dread him getting home from work, wouldn't you? Because it would just be dire. And dinner must have just been an absolute scene of depression. He was made fun of at United.
Now
he was made fun of at Sunderland.
Now Mrs. Moyes
Mrs.
Moyes can go to Brick Lane and get her fish and she gets like good portions as well, I understand.
Curry Mile as well. Look, respect. Because if ever there was a lesson that if you believe in what you do and you keep working hard, eventually, it might take a while or several different clubs and countries, but you will get back at it. He's done a fantastic job this season. Yeah. Respect David Moyes.
Fulham have a massive ask. 1:30 a.m. that one kicks off. Leeds United versus Crystal Palace is a Monday game. Leeds are not going down this season, Bob. They're good fun. So the Bielsa project can continue being a Bielsa project. They no longer have to, you know what I mean? It's no Sam Allardyce football involved.
No, not not at all. No, it's been great, absolutely great. Leeds, of all people, dirty Leeds, as they were known, to be transformed like this. It's absolutely amazing. I mean, you know, a lot of clubs, likable, yeah. A lot of clubs stay the same, you know, even through generations, even though they've had umpteen managers, but somehow many of them, you know, they're known for this or that, attacking football or being dirty or whatever. Never seems to change. But this is absolutely unrecognizable from what I remember going to watch Leeds United, the dirtiest team you'd ever seen in your life. I mean, they were horrors, absolutely. And I mean, everybody used to cheer when they lost, or you know, it was like that. The whole country used to hate Leeds, except people in Leeds. I mean, it's a one club city. I'm sure if there'd been two clubs there, the other lot would have hated them as well. But no, all credit to Bielsa. It's worked brilliantly, and it'll be very interesting to see what sort of money they give him at the end of the season, whether they're going to go a step up and bring in better known players, because a lot of the money that was spent was on little known players from the lower leagues, one or two exceptions, of course, but it's how he's worked them, how they've gelled. And this against Crystal Palace, I know who I want to win this. Crystal Palace are the ultimate spoilers. Again, I don't know how they keep racking up the points, but Roy Hodgson, he seems to be the perfect fit there, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't argue. He's kept them up against all odds without spending a lot of money. So this would be a good test for Leeds.
Yeah. A word, Des, about the oldest manager in the Premier League. I wouldn't class them as anti-football, Crystal Palace. In players like Berichi Eze, you know, they look good. They've got good moments. The left back who scores all the time, whose name escapes me, is really good. Yeah, him. He scores, although their forwards don't. But Hodgson, credit where credit's due, right?
Credit where credit's due when he tries to go and win games. I've been consistent about this for umpteen years. If teams try and go and win games of football in an attack-minded way, great. Hodgson sometimes picks very, very defensive-minded teams and punts the ball upfield and hopes Zaha will do something magical for him. But in recent weeks, he's had Jordan Ayew playing on the right, Eze playing on the left, Batshuayi and Zaha started in the victory against Newcastle. So when they try and go and win games and get Van Aanholt involved and Nathaniel Klein as well down the right-hand side, they can be fun to watch. And that, to me, I'm paying the dollars still. That is what it is about to people all over the world and for the Premier League team. So credit when they try and go win games. When they're boring as hell, nah, I'm not going to pay the money.
All right. There you go. Leeds Crystal Palace is a Tuesday 4 a.m. kickoff. And that, in a nutshell, is all your Premier League football for the weekend. I say many thanks to the gents, Bob Holmes, to Des Corkill, and to Andy Whitelaw. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you next week. Bye.